This $1.2 billion fraud didn't just bankrupt a nation. It armed the civilians with 1 million stolen military weapons. You think this is a war movie? It is a financial report. If you hold crypto or speculative stocks, you are watching your own future. We analyzed 500 pages of classified IMF dossiers to expose the truth. Here are the 3 signals of the Anarchy collapse before they hit your portfolio. A shoe factory worker named Suja looked into a glass sphere and saw a way to cheat gravity. She claimed she could see the future, but her real magic was simple arithmetic. She promised to double your cash in 2 months. No contracts, no lawyers, just a handshake in a dirty apartment. The logic was impossible. To pay the first investor, she needed 2 new ones. To pay those 2, she needed 4. It was a mathematical virus. But in a country starving for hope, math didn't matter. Within 6 months, the line to her door wasn't filled with gamblers. It was filled with grandmothers. While Suja used magic, Vebi Ali Mukaj used the state. He didn't have a crystal ball. He had a government license. Vefa Holdings wasn't just a bank. It was a black hole for sanctions-busting oil money. They claimed to invest in supermarkets and ferries. In reality, they were washing dirty cash for the elite. The government watched the money pile up and called it capitalism. Vefa sponsored the ruling party's campaigns. The fraud wasn't a bug in the system. It was the system. He built a corporate glass tower on a foundation of mud. By 1996, the fever broke the thermometer. Farmers sold their cattle. Families sold their only apartments. They slept on the streets outside the collection centers, clutching plastic bags filled with leck. They weren't investing. They were feeding a beast that was already dying. The IMF sent warnings. The World Bank sent auditors. But the return rates hit 100% monthly. Greed is deaf to warnings when the interest rates are this high. The country had sold its soul for a receipt, and the ink was about to fade. January 1997. The math finally caught up with the magic. Suja, the shoeshine mystic, appeared on national television to admit the truth. The money was gone. The interest payments stopped instantly. The queue outside her apartment didn't disperse. It calcified into a mob. People stood for days in the freezing rain, clutching plastic bags filled with receipts that were now just worthless trash. When the doors didn't open, the polite knocking turned into hammering. And the hammering turned into fire. This default wasn't a banking error. It was the snapping sound of a nation's spine breaking under the weight of a billion-dollar lie. The government tried to stop the bleeding with a tourniquet, but they were applying it to a corpse. President Berisha ordered a freeze on the remaining banks. Police units raided the headquarters of Vefa and Gyalika, promising to secure the people's savings. They brought welding torches to open the steel vaults. But when the heavy doors swung open, they didn't find gold bars or stacks of Deutsche Marks. They found dust, they found rats, and they found records of transfers to government officials. The money hadn't been stolen. It had been eaten by the very people promising to protect it. When the vaults opened empty, the shock turned into rage. In the southern city of Vlora, thousands of students and workers gathered in the soccer stadium. They didn't want explanations. They wanted blood. They declared a hunger strike, not for political reform, but for restitution. The government responded with riot police. But the police were investors too. When the order came to fire on the crowd, the lines held for a moment and then dissolved. The police dropped their shields. The crowd surged forward. The city hall of Vlora began to burn. By March, the government didn't just fail. It vanished. The president declared a state of emergency, but there was no one left to enforce it. The army didn't fight the people. They opened the doors. Across the country, military depots were cracked open like piñatas. It wasn't an organized coup. It was a free-for-all. Farmers, teachers, and children walked into high-security bunkers and walked out with AK-47s, grenades, and anti-aircraft guns. In 10 days, 1 million weapons entered the civilian population. The currency of Albania shifted overnight, from the lek to the Kalashnikov. Nature abhors a vacuum, and so does power. Where the state retreated, the gangs advanced. The Committee of Salvation was the official name, but the reality was warlordism. Men in leather jackets set up checkpoints on the national highways. If you had a nice car, it was now their car. If you had money, it was their money. The Ponzi schemes had evaporated the wealth, so the gangs monetized the only thing left: the people. Kidnapping became the new industry. Albania had regressed from an aspiring democracy to a collection of medieval fiefdoms, ruled by the man with the most guns. It took 7,000 international troops to put the lid back on the jar. Operation Alba restored order, but it couldn't restore the lost years. 2,000 people were dead. The economy was a smoking crater. And the weapons? They didn't just disappear. They moved north. The looted armories of 1997 fueled the Kosovo Liberation Army in 1998. The pyramid schemes were a financial tragedy, but their collapse was the spark that redrew the map of the Balkans. The lesson is written in the graveyards. When the math breaks, society follows.